Begin on this Monday night with the very latest major poll out of Georgia, showing President Trump and Joe Biden still neck and neck, fighting to gain an edge as they make their way toward Election Day in early November. 47% saying they favor Biden in the AHAC poll, 46% saying they're voting for President Trump, and 4% indicating they still are undecided.
Another sign this could be an extremely close one. Tomorrow, Democrat Joe Biden will become the first Democratic presidential contender to visit the state of Georgia since Bill Clinton visited in the early 90s.
11 Alive's Doug Richards is looking into the significance of his visit and where he's headed.
Joe Biden will tug at the history of Warm Springs when he visits here Tuesday. It's home to the Rehabilitation Center, founded by Democrat Franklin Roosevelt 95 years ago when Roosevelt was diagnosed with polio. The 32nd president was a regular visitor and died at his cabin here in 1945. But history is only part of the story of Biden's visit.
The fact that Biden is here, that he is taking his most finite resource, time, to come to Georgia suggests for the first time really that the Biden campaign thinks that Georgia is in the gettable category.
Warm Springs is in Meriwether County. It's a Republican county, but with enough Democratic voters to keep a Democrat like Bob Trammell in the state House of Representatives.
You would call my district a swing district. You would call Georgia at this point undeniably a swing state in the presidential contest.
President Trump won Meriwether County with 57% of the vote in 2016. But Trump got bigger vote totals in neighboring Troup, Coweta, and Pike counties. Yet Trump lost Talbot County just to the south. Trammell replaced Stacey Abrams as the House Democratic leader. Trammell says Republicans have spent $1 million on behalf of his opponent, David Jenkins, unheard of in a state House race.
I'm confident that voters see through that excessively absurd expenditure, but it also communicates exactly how much Georgia is really in play.
And Biden stumping in mostly Republican rural Georgia may make some sense in a newly christened swing state.
For Trump, Georgia is truly must win. If Biden is able to just collapse Trump's margins a little bit in rural counties, that would be a major factor.
President Trump won Georgia in 2016 by about 200,000 votes. There are 2 million more registered voters in Georgia now than there were in 2016.